Welcome back to Garage Matters. Today we'll be discussing a turbo system. This particular system is spare parts for this 1994 JDM Toyota Celica GT-Four. So let's get familiar with the terminology. Here we have the exhaust manifold. This is the turbo and this is the downpipe. Let's take a look at this exhaust manifold. This is an aftermarket version. The one that came on the car is normally referred as a log style manifold. This one, sometimes you hear referred as ram's horn. There's some really nice ones out there. This particular one is for the twin scroll turbo setup. What that means is the exhaust pulses from two of the cylinders, since this is a 4-cylinder vehicle, so two of the exhaust gases from the cylinders is going to travel down through each of these holes. So the exhaust gases are split. Here we'll take a look at the manifold a little bit closer so you can see how it's split. Now taking a closer look at this exhaust manifold, we can see these two tubes right here. We'll just trace them back. This one goes right here. This one loops around under here, comes back around to here. So these two are connected into a single funnel right here. And then the two outer ones, they're connected to this one right here. And then they'll split off and go down to the turbine wheel. Let's take a look at this turbine housing. Now you have a hot side, which means the exhaust gases are flowing into this side, making it hot. Then you have a cold side over here, which is the turbine drawing in cool air to go into the engine. So you got a hot side with hot air, cold side with cold air. So on the hot side here, these two ports right here, they're separate. So they're separated all the way down to here. So now since you have two separate sides, one side spinning the turbo up earlier, the other side spins it up a little bit later. What this turbo does is it reduces the lag time, so it's already building boost earlier within the engine RPM range. Now with this turbo being able to build boost earlier within the RPM range, what it's going to do for the car is it's going to make the car accelerate quicker. For this car in particular, since it was built to go rallying, you want that low end power to mid-range power to help get out of those corners quicker. Now let's take a look at this thing. Here's two vacuum lines connected to this actuator. Turn this around. So in here you have the internal wastegate. Let's take a look at this wastegate. So on this turbo it's dual ported. The reason being is because it's a twin scroll again. Each half is going to need a way to expel that extra exhaust gas. To get the wastegate open, we're just going to work backwards. So the wastegate is connected to this actuator arm, which is connected to this diaphragm, and then this diaphragm is connected to a vacuum hose. So the vacuum pressure is going to send the pressure down to this diaphragm. Inside this diaphragm there's a spring preset to 10 psi. So once it hits 10 psi, this actuator arm is going to rotate, opening up the wastegate to relieve that extra exhaust gas. Now let's take a look at this turbine. This is again the CT20B turbo. It's highly sought after many car enthusiasts in the MR2 community as well. It has a ceramic turbine. So this ceramic turbine, since it's ceramic, it's going to weigh less than a steel turbine, thus causing the turbo to spool faster within the RPM range, building more boost. Now with the ceramic turbine paired with a twin scroll setup, this car builds boost earlier within the rev range. Now let's see what happens to the exhaust gases once it leaves the turbine housing. It's going to travel through your downpipe here, then go down into your exhaust system and out the tailpipe. This particular downpipe is purposely wrapped in this heat shield material to help keep the hot side of the turbo hot. The reason being is a hotter turbo is going to build boost faster. So that's the whole purpose of trying to keep the hot side of the turbo hot. You see some people put turbo blankets on the hot side. That's basically just trying to build boost faster. Hot air travels faster. Now in 1994, Toyota had to build 2,500 road-going versions, homologation vehicles, in order to race in the WRC. This particular vehicle is a WRC. I'll go into more details about that in future episodes. This is the turbo setup that Toyota came up with. Owning and driving this WRC, I can attest that this turbo system works really well on this vehicle. Now let's see how this turbo system works on this vehicle. You have cold air being drawn into the turbine from this airbox. It's traveling down this tube and going into the turbine. This turbine, what it's doing is drawing this cold air from the outside. So the cold air inside the turbine is being drawn in, but at the same time, it's being compressed. So as the air gets compressed and compressed and compressed, it's going to get hot. So once it gets hot, you need to cool it down somehow. On this car, the intercooler is an air-to-water intercooler. So once this hot compressed air leaves this turbo, it's going to come through this intercooler. This intercooler acts as a heat exchanger. So it's going to cool down that hot compressed air and then send it to the throttle body, which is back here. And then from the throttle body, it's going to go down into the cylinder head, get fuel and spark to ignite. Once it ignites that fuel and air, it's going to leave the exhaust manifold, go back down into the hot side of the turbo, and then leave the turbine and then exit out the back. And then it just does that over and over again. Join us next time on Garage Matters, and remember, hit that like and subscribe button.